So guys, a very warm welcome. So we are going to have a Scrum meeting for the date 31st January 2023. We have optimized these Scrums a little more. So we have thought of bringing certain projects which Acveda is doing or which we have already done. And we are going to have those discussions in this Scrum meetings along with intern presentations as well as progress updates and other stuff, what we do in the Scrum. So idea behind or the objective behind bringing industrial projects as in company projects with you all is so that you can have an idea about what kind of challenges the company is solving, what kind of products we are building for our consumers, and how the projects are deployed, what all technologies are being used in those projects, so that you will get specific ideas about how an individual technology is integrated into a solution, and the solution is solving what kind of problems, so that you have a more or broader idea about how technology is working. So we are going to add these parts in the Scrum meeting. So you are going to get those presentations, you will get ideas, as well as you will be working on those projects as well, so that you can gain that relevant experience and you become a powerful industrial workforce. So as we already discussed on 16th of January, as well as on previous introduction meetings, that workforce development is a problem which the company is solving. And development of the workforce means we have to build a workforce which can gain experience with the relevant work which is done so far. And you guys can build up new applications, new products, which are in the scope of, development with Acveda. So what is the objective of the day? Let me quickly take you to the objectives. So we will be having the following objectives. First, since we have to do task allotment to Suyash Gupta today, and he is from Python software development team. So I thought of bringing a software development project of Python with you guys, which the company has built for a consumer. And I'm going to explain you what was the problem, how we solved that problem with Python, and what the team has built as a software product to solve that problem. So you're going to get an idea and what all fundamentals are required in order to build such products. So this is an existing product which is already ready. One such project I'm going to discuss, which is TM Blood Report Manager project. One team is also working on it. They are learning through the material which is given. And other than that, there are certain new material which needs to be implemented in order to build a product like that. So I'm going to discuss the problem, the solutions, and what kind of expectations we do have from Python software developers, as well as I'll be discussing other technologies also for today's presentation. Followed by, we will be having two intern presentations, one with Hitha and second with Anish Jha. So their fundamental task is complete. I think Hitha has completed task number 1 and Anish has completed his Python developer task. So we'll be having that presentation, and followed by that, we'll have certain general queries, and then we will complete the meeting. So what are the responsibilities of a Python software developer, which we are seeking, as well as general requirement is similar with other companies as well. There are certain companies which are hiring through our hiring platform as well. Cashify is one such company, and the requirements are somewhat similar. So what kind of products we are building and what is the requirement, and the general fresher and 1 or 2 year experience requirement with respect to Python software development, what is the requirement in the industry, I'm going to discuss on it. So if you can see here, so these are the general requirements wherein a software developer in Python has to develop Python applications using web frameworks. Okay. Scripting is also required, but majorly the important part is Python developers need to know at least one web framework if they have to work in the industry in Python background with Python as a skill. So one web framework is required. One such framework is Django, which is very popular among masses. Apart from Django, we have Flask, there is Fast API, and various other frameworks are available. Every individual company has a different kind of a requirement, but methodology behind these web frameworks are very similar. So if you are, if you have knowledge of one such framework, it is good. We are going to discuss one such example today as well. Secondly, what do these Python developers do? They work closely with the front-end developers, which means a front-end user interface is created by a team. Python developers, what they have to do generally in a large organization, they have to build APIs, which could be considered as web services, and they have to, share those web services information with the front-end team, so that front-end can pull data from your APIs, they can pull data from your web services, and they can show that data on a front-end user interface. If on a beginner level, suppose you're working for a small scale organization, or if you're working for a medium scale organization, generally what happens, you have to create the front end as well as the back end and create and do that interfacing between API and the front end. But in a larger organization, there are separate teams. So user interfaces will be available. You can create your web services along with the front-end team. There is a regular discussion which happens between a front-end team and the back-end team about what are the front-end requirements, and they are going to create designs. They will show, benchmark designs, or sometimes wireframes about what kind of data they want to display. Accordingly, web services and APIs need to be created by the Python developer. Okay. Then what next they need to do? So Python backend Django developers, they have to participate in architecture design meetings. So there are certain tools which are used when we start building a product. Okay. And there are certain architecting tools. It is a good idea if you go to internet and seek a few architecting tools. There is one such example I'm going to let you know as soon as my presentation completes. I'll show you an example. So there are n number of architecting tools, which on the basis of those architecture tools, a particular product is designed or planned. And then the user interface design, the product requirement, what challenge a product is solving is being discussed. So it is a very important responsibility of a software developer with respect to Python technology, that they have to be well versed in communication, as well as they need to understand certain architecting tools. Also, they need to have an understanding of the designs, even if they are not designing it, but they do need to have the design understanding. And finally, the problem, that is very, very important. They need to understand what kind of a problem they are solving and what product are they building. Coming to next, they are always responsible for designing and creating the RESTful APIs. So I believe you guys have heard about JSON, JavaScript object notation, which is one such technology which belongs to REST. So REST is representational state transfer, where what you do between a client and a server will transfer data in a text format. And what do we do with that text? We represent text in a dictionary kind of structure, and that is generally known as JSON. We call it as JavaScript object notation, where we display a text data in a key value pair format. So it is very important that you should be able to create RESTful APIs. REST is comparatively fast, hence JSON is majorly used in majority of the applications. Along with that, there are, when it comes to security, there was a SOAP protocol which was used earlier. So SOAP was also used, but comparatively it was a little slower, but it was more secure. You can write encryption functions in order to protect your data while transmitting the data between client and a server. So RESTful API designing is also a very, very important part for a software developer with respect to Python. Then this one is very important, and it is important in today's scenario because earlier people used to develop products using waterfall model and XYZ models. But nowadays, majorly all the companies, not just us, majorly all the companies are following agile methodology in order to build customer satisfactory product. So there are n number of stages in the agile companies, and these developers, they need to be well versed, well aware of what agile is, how agile life cycle works. Scrum meetings are also a part of agile environment, where we do daily discussions about a particular product, what all has been done till now, what is expected, and so that we can build a customer satisfactory product. Hence, these Scrum meetings are very, very important. So the Scrum meetings we guys have regularly, say Tuesday to Friday, 7 p.m. onwards. So this is an agile environment where teams discuss on different problems and they try to sort the problem out, and they move out to building the product, which with respect to customers' satisfaction. So these are a couple of points which are generally required on all the Python software developer jobs. And we have a very high number of Python interns. We would definitely be occupying many of the interns for paid internships as well as PPOs, as well as there are a number of hiring partners also. So where you will be recommended to those hiring partners where you can work for them also. So you need to build up these skills. And this is not just limited to Python. Other technology people like Java people, they might also be working under the software development background, and majorly these are some of the common skills you need to have. But specifically, I'm talking about Python today. Definitely in the upcoming meetings, we will be coming with other technologies also, depending on the kind of task I need to allot to people. So it's going to be a learning experience for all of you. Now, coming to the second part. So when it comes to a Python, say, what all do we need? Just Python will do when I come to industry, or what kind of skills a company expects from me when I come out of my final year? So generally the kind of skills which is expected, at least you should have a coding experience of 2+ years in Python. And why it is said 2+ years? Because it is considered that it might take 6 months for you to learn fundamentals. Okay. Then it might take another 6 months to get an understanding of data structures and all that. Then it takes another 6 months where you will be working on 1 or 2 small projects. Okay. And finally, you will be working on one project. So tentatively, it is expected that in 2 years of time, suppose you are in second year, it is not necessary that this experience comes when you graduate. It is not accounted in that way. Experience accounts from the day you started working on that technology, being into college. Okay. So this internship, the major objective of this internship is to give you this rich experience and give you a letter as well, which specifies that you have this much experience. So being into second year, third year, first year, final year, in any of these years, you can start gaining experience of the technology. And just knowing basics will not do that. I think you guys really know. So what is expected in the industry? Any company, from medium scale to higher scale companies, they definitely see at least 2 years plus experienced person should be there. And you can start gaining this experience from your college itself. Okay. Apart from that, 1 year experience of Django. So how you can minimize this experience, that is what is very, very important. So the kind of fundamentals we guys are giving you as of now, so kind of a course curriculum and regularly monitoring what codes you are writing, giving you certain products on Python, where we have shared 3 projects. In fact, there are 5 projects in the playlist, but 3 projects are more than enough. And after completing that playlist of 16, 17 videos, which approximately takes 1 month of time, 1 or 1.5 months of time, you are eligible with respect to a 2+ years experience. Okay. And we are going to assess it as well with respect to your performance, as well as with the assessments. Okay. So with respect to Python, this is very important. Then you can have Django and Flask experience of at least 1 year, which means if you have done 1 or 2 projects on Django or Flask, you have that relevant experience, okay? As well as you should have a letter which specifies that you have worked on it and internship accounts in the experience. Then you definitely need to have database skills, Postgres and MySQL. It is very, very important. These two databases are very important. Postgres is highly being used in the e-commerce industry, okay? So it's a good idea that you have an understanding of MySQL and Postgres. It is very, very important. Then strong knowledge of version control, Git, SVN. There are a number of tools for version control, but majorly SVN and Git is used in the industry. So you should definitely be very, very well versed with version control, because there will be a number of code updates, and a particular administrator or a team leader will be fetching your code from your GitHub repo and then making it live. So it's altogether a teamwork. So you should be very, very well versed with version control, GitHub, Git, SVN. This is very important. If you are not well versed before landing into a company, it's going to be too much trouble for you. So it's very important that you learn version control before you land up to any of the interviews. And when you have all those skills on your resume, and when you have the projects, the valuable projects which you have done, so automatically your experience gets justified in the interviews. Followed by that, deploying Python applications. So deploying Python applications, as in you should be able to deploy production level application. So it is a very important thing to know that what generally interns do mistake in their internship. They just do their code and they keep it on their machine. Okay, so it's of no use. So irrespective of Python, you should be able to deploy production level codes. This is very, very important, because until and unless you are capable of deploying it on a cloud environment, or deploying it, suppose it's an embedded based product, or it could be a product where it needs to be deployed on GoDaddy servers or any other server from where the customers are going to access it. So deploying a production level application is very important, and how that production level application is being updated in real time, that's what is more important. So you should have this experience also. And finally, having AWS knowledge with respect to Python developers is very important in today's scenario. AWS is a preferred choice. Apart from AWS, if you have knowledge with Google Cloud, if you have knowledge with Azure Cloud, or if you have knowledge of Heroku, I think, which is a free cloud setup on which you can set up your application. So that too is fine. So you should have at least one cloud knowledge. So that will be very, very useful when it comes to your interviews with respect to your developer profiles. So on the right-hand side, you can see it is not that only Python data structures will help you. You need to know a little more things in order to stand out. So you need to be well versed with Django. You need to be well versed with 1 or 2 database technologies, Postgres, MySQL, and general applications will also do, making a login, extracting user information out, then updating some information on the database. All these basic queries will do. Create, read, update, delete. These are the 4 important queries which are considered. Create, read, update, delete. So you should know 4 of these techniques in Postgres as well as MySQL. Then version control, I have already told you, is very important, because if you're working in a team, a number of developers will be coding, and there should be a control of the version in case if there is any error-based code which has been committed. So the team leader should be able to, go back to the last stable version of the application, and users must not get any trouble. So version control and coming back to AWS cloud, all of these things are very, very important when it comes to becoming a skilled software developer with respect to Python. Okay. So this is the general industrial requirement. And I would like to show you one problem which we solved using Python, Django, MySQL. Apart from that, having a version control system, then deploying it on AWS. So all of these skills which you guys are seeing can be learned with our TM Blood Report project deployment process. Okay. So there is a project I'm going to show you. And then we are going to have questions regarding that. Okay. So let me just quickly show you how it looks like. So there was a problem. We built this product known as TM Blood Report Manager. So this is a product built in Hackveda. And what challenge this product solves, that's what I'm going to tell you. So guys, what do we have is, we met a doctor one day, and the doctor used to so let me just give you a quick profile of the doctor. So this doctor is a dietitian. Okay, what they do, they diagnose people health tests, and depending on that, they recommend certain diets to their patients. Okay. Now, the majority of the customers which they have is fatty customers, those who have put on a lot of weight on them. So what they do, when a customer walks into their office, so they ask them to get their blood reports. Okay. So earlier, suppose there was a patient known as, suppose his name is Pranav Nagpal. So there was this person, Pranav Nagpal, and he went to this doctor along with his blood report. Okay. In the blood report, what do he had? So he had some information about his blood, which is what is the hemoglobin level, what is the total leukocyte count, and there are different tests which has been conducted by this patient, or to whichever diagnostic lab he has gone to, which is very important here. So he went to this Dr. Dang's lab, and in Dr. Dang's lab, he got a couple of tests done and he got a report. Okay. Now he went to the doctor, which is our customer, and he showed this report. So doctor manually reviewed this, report, and he recommended some prescriptions to the patient, which is Pranav Nagpal. Now, Pranav has gone back, started taking their diets. Okay. And after 1 month or after 2 months, the doctor recommended him to go and take his test again. Now, this time what happened, Pranav Nagpal has gone to some other diagnostic lab. He didn't went to Dr. Dang's lab, suppose, and he went to Biohealth Diagnostic Center this time. And again, he made certain, tests, and this time he got another report with respect to his health. Okay. Now, here there is a challenge. So now you can consider that the doctor has, let's say 5,000 patients, and all of these patients in complex numbers, they are going to different diagnostic labs every month. They are getting their reports done. They are bringing all those reports to the doctor, and the doctor is manually calculating what is the progress report of a particular patient. Okay. So it was becoming very, very difficult for the doctor to maintain a centralized record and to compute performance of his diets on every patient. So suppose, so one kind of challenge which was happening. So suppose there is one patient, which is Pranav Nagpal. He took diets for 3 months and 6 months or so. And now he said, I cannot find any progress. Okay. So how can we evaluate the progress of a person? By appearance, all the time, it cannot happen. So with respect to the diet, if his health is improving, his blood report should also be improving. Okay. So it becomes a regular, what happened? Let me check. So what happens? So this became a regular trouble for this particular doctor. Okay. About to keep a track record of the patients. And one biggest challenge which we were facing, which he was facing, in fact, so every diagnostic lab have a different format of these blood reports. Okay. Also, there is no standard number of columns, or there is no standard number of test names in each and every report. There is no standard number of units in which the data is represented. And every different diagnostic lab has a variable biological reference. So this became a very, very important challenge for us to solve. So what we did, we made use of artificial intelligence in order to extract the information from different diagnostic PX, arrange them into a central standardized format, okay, and then making a comparison of the patient's history right from the beginning when the patient walked in up to the number of months for which he subscribed the diets, and we have identified what kind of health benefits he had after taking the diet from this specific doctor. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, so somewhat like this. So we got this challenge and now we have to solve it. So what we did, we made a Python script initially to extract the content from n number of PDF files, not just for single patient, for multiple patients. Okay. With respect to any diagnostic lab, he can go to any diagnostic lab. There was another challenge. One diagnostic lab may have 10, tests or references for the test, and the second diagnostic lab may have 20 or it may have 5. So it becomes very difficult to keep a track of the data. Okay. So we solved it by building this product, TM Blood Report Manager. And definitely I'm going to show you how things works on this TM Blood Report Manager project. But somehow, again, okay, so let me just show you. It shows that the meeting will end in 7 minutes, 29 seconds. You guys have to join back the same meeting. Okay. Once it turns off, you have to join back the same meeting. And I'm not sure why it happened today again. We got this validated, this account. But anyways, I'm going to check it back. So if the meeting gets terminated, join back the same meeting. Okay. I'm going to restart this. And I'm going to continue my presentation from there. So here is a project. This particular project was made in Django. So earlier we coded basic Python scripts. First, we built a program known as process.py in order to extract the text content from different diagnostic lab PDFs, and we structured it. Okay. Once our process.py, the Python script was working fine, then we made a database out of it so that we can keep a record. And then we converted that process.py functionality into a Django application. Okay. So in the backend, we use Django in order to do it. Then a front-end developer has created the front-end user interfaces, and the APIs have been integrated so that the user can use it appropriately. So at the backend, we have Django. At the front end, we have we made it with HTML, CSS using certain tools. So we designed this in Figma. Then we exported it from Figma, and we customized the CSS, followed by we integrated with the Django APIs. Okay. And again, the database is there. And the project was deployed on AWS Cloud. Okay. And it is still running. It always runs. Followed by, so I'm going to show you how things work on it. So I'm going to log into this application, TM Blood Report Manager. So what do we have here? We have two modules here initially. One was to add a new patient, and second was to search a patient. We wanted it very specific since it needs to be used by the doctor himself. So we kept it very simple. We didn't put much data on the UI. We have given him easy to use, buttons so that he can quickly get into adding a patient, or he can quickly get into searching a patient without looking n number of things here on the screen. Apart from that, we have a menu here where we can quickly find out all the patients. We can add and search patients. We can create labels. So what these labels are. So these labels are the test names. So there was one challenge. Two different biological diagnostic labs can have different names for the same test. Okay. So making it general was a very complex thing. So what we did, we selected one label from a standard, diagnostic lab, and we made it. We call it as label. Okay. This particular test name, which you can see, hemoglobin. So we can consider it as label. And we created one more entity known as alternate labels. So if there is a diagnostic report 2, and in that report 2, if hemoglobin is written with some other name, okay, so we can put that second name as an alternate label to hemoglobin. So in the report, whatever the alternate label is, in the report, we are going to get the primary label as, which will be displayed in the report. So this process was done, identification of individual number of tests, and then finding out different alternate labels from different diagnostic labs and making those, alternate labels enter into the database, so that in any of the report, if there is a secondary label is being identified, the value will be identified and will be mapped with our primary label. So we did that initially. So this was an important part which has been done here. Then we created alternate labels. So whenever we need to add new alternate labels, we had this option to add alternate labels for a specific label. So if I want to, so we'll go one by one, okay? So let's see. So here we can add patient. So if I click on add patient here, we have some forms, some information about the patient, where we can add his first name, last name. So this is a basic sign up process, you can say, or basic adding process, inserting the information of a customer in the database. Secondly, there was a facility known as search patient, where we can search the patients. Okay. So suppose I would like to search Devanshu. So here I have two entries here. Devanshu, Vijay Shukla. So we can quickly search patients. This facility is available. So you have the front end created. Now this front end is integrating with the Django backend. Okay. So the data is being transmitted through REST APIs, is received with Django at the backend in form of a post request. The information is fetched from, the information is searched in the database, and the response again is transmitted through a RESTful API and now is being displayed on the front-end user interface. So this is being done. I will show you how these codes and mechanisms were working. So this is how it is happening. Okay. Now, coming back to once we select the patient. So I selected, suppose, Devanshu as my patient. So we have some information about it, and we had some use cases with a particular patient. So what we had, we can add a new report of the patient. Okay. So what was the functionality? We can select any PDF any PDF from a diagnostic lab, and it will be uploaded to the application with the artificial intelligence crawler, which we made, and the test extractor, label extractor. It is going to extract all that information, and it is going to display the information in a structured format. There was one person sitting at the doctor's end. You can consider it as a manual operator. So the manual operator also had that facility to edit those labels if required. Okay. So I'll show you one such thing. So suppose I wanted to add a report, and so there were certain, kind of labs which were available, which we processed. So it was just for, basic reference that what kind of reports are generally coming from which lab. So suppose I selected that it is a Dr. Dang's PDF, and there were two facilities which we introduced. One was Tesseract to extract the text, and second was PDF to text. So sometimes it happens that we get images, the blood reports which were coming, they were not in textual format. They were